There's no better feeling than getting the last of the field seeded and the machinery cleaned and put away for yet another seeding season. Nothing to do now but sit back and relax until harvest. Oh, if that were only the case. We all know the work is not done, especially when the hail hits. But what do you do when that happens? How do you make your hail claim experience the very best it can be? This video will help you to determine what stage your crop is at and what its damage estimation is. This will help you to determine the right time for an adjuster to assess the damage, whether that is immediately or to wait for the damage to fully emerge. The AFSC corn leaf loss chart has useful explanatory notes that help in the proper staging of corn plants. This chart is used for determining payable loss from hail damage to leaves. This is used for adjusting damage on grain, silage, fresh, and processing corn. Hail affects grain corn yields by reducing plant stands and defoliating the plant, and when the plant matures, there can be some actual kernel loss. Early defoliation and plant stand loss is not too significant, as the growing point of the plant is still protected beneath the soil surface. Approximately 3 weeks after emergence, all nodes and internodes have been developed, and the growing point is elevated above soil, and it becomes increasingly vulnerable to hail damage. You'll notice then from the AFSC corn leaf loss chart, as the plant develops, the estimated loss gets larger. Here's Craig to walk us through staging a corn crop.
So then with corn, we stage it by leaf count. Two, three, 4, 6, 7. I think there was 8 down there. That's how we stage it, is by leaf count. And the damage to the leaves go into the defoliation chart. And the other thing on corn, we look for stand loss.
Corn plants develop leaves based on their relative maturity and growing environment. The growing environment in Alberta generally has varieties that produce 13 to 14 leaves. Some of the fresh and processing corn varieties will produce less leaves. The lowermost leaf of a corn plant has a rounded tip. All other leaves have pointed tips. When staging, look at the tip of the lowermost leaf. If it has a rounded tip, begin counting that leaf as number 1 and count all leaves above it with a collar visible. AFSC uses leaf-over method to describe corn vegetative growth stage. Count all leaves with the tips of the leaves pointing downwards. There will be 50% or more of the leaf area that the leaf is exposed from the whorl when the tip points downward and arched over. Starting with the lowermost leaf with the rounded tip, count upwards to the uppermost leaf that has its tip pointing downward. A V5 plant with this staging method has 5 leaves with the tip pointing downward. As the plant continues to develop leaves and stalks grow upward, the stalk grows horizontally as well. As this occurs, the lower leaf sheaths are pushed away from the stalk. Later, brace roots grow from these lower nodes just above the soil, which also pushes the leaf sheaths away from the lower stalk. These leaves ultimately die as they break away from the stalk. 5 to 6 leaves normally slough from the stalk as the stalk enlarges in diameter. This sloughing of leaves occurs between the 8-leaf stage and the tasseling stage. At tasseling and throughout the grain filling period, there are 12 to 13 leaves on the plant, with about half of the leaves above the ear and half below. After leaf number 1 with the rounded tip has sloughed from the plant, the lowest leaf on the plant will have a pointed tip, and one must split the stalk to determine the morphological leaf number of the lowest leaf. Dig the plant and split the stalk longitudinally to view the nodes and internodes. The darker bands across the stalks are nodes, and the lighter stalk tissue between each band is the internode. All leaf sheaths are attached to nodes. Since the 3 lowermost internodes do not elongate and are therefore not visible, the lower stalk area looks like one big node. The 4th internode is the lowermost internode that elongates. The leaf number 5 is attached to the node immediately above. Leaf number 6 is attached to the next node upwards, 7 to the next, and so on. Stand loss is easily determined by counting 100 plants in 4 side-by-side rows of 25 plants each and making proper allowance for percentage on missing plants. Damage to a plant must be beyond any recovery before it is counted as stand loss. Now select 10 average plants in a row and examine each individual leaf to determine total defoliation damage. Carefully consider both leaf area removed and leaf area still attached, but no longer green or feeding the plant. Total and average this damage on all leaves and then determine proper growth stage. Use AFSC corn leaf loss chart to estimate damage percentage allowable for each payable loss in that stage. Normal leaf growth is essential to proper plant development, and injury by either hail or insects result in a reduction of final yield. After the plant has attained full height, the bottom leaves dry up and fall off. So when adjusting for hail damage, make sure these bottom leaves are located for proper staging. If unable to locate them, it may be necessary to split the stalk and identify the internodes for proper staging as seen before. As the plant produces the last leaves, it also develops its tassels and silks, which are vital to kernel development and the filling of the cob. At this period in plant growth is so vital to final yield, water, nutrient, and leaf development are more essential than any other time, as the plant will never catch up if there is a deficiency in either one. Corn again becomes very susceptible to hail injury after it has silkened out and up until the time the cob begins to ripen. When corn is hailed at this stage, leaf loss becomes less, but the yield loss is liable to be high because the kernels are very soft and easily damaged. At this stage, actual kernel loss on each cob has to be determined by counting the percentage of damage on 10 cobs and averaging to show for allowable cob loss, which is put in the head loss section of the hail form that's attached to the end of this presentation. The cob will have to be husked to view the actual damage to the kernels. Calculate total loss in the final column on hail form by adding stand loss, if any, defoliation allowance, and cob loss percentage. As the cob ripens and matures, leaf loss is not as important, and total loss may only be the percentage of missing or damaged kernels. Damage to kernels does not destroy entire cob, and when corn is to be harvested as silage, so only so the percentage of the actual kernels destroyed. The whole corn plant is silage, so when assessing hail damage on cobs, determine the percentage of damage to 10 cobs and enter in the head loss section. With silage cobs, there will be less damage than on fresh processing and grain corn due to the silaging of the entire cob for feed. This is the chart we have been referring to, and it will be available for download at the end of this video. To estimate the defoliation damage, you need to look at each leaf that was out at the time of the storm and calculate the damage. Any portion of the leaf that is still green is feeding the plant and not considered damaged. The center vein of the leaf is more for support and does not feed the plant. Defoliation consists of missing leaf sections plus any portions of the leaf that have turned brown in color. The leaves that have splits starting from the tips running lengthwise down the leaf are common, as these are caused by the wind. Now that you can confidently stage and do a primary assessment on your crop, the next step is to report your claim. Please take a moment to watch this step-by-step guide on how to file your claim online using Connect. For more information on our hail claim or any other procedure, please visit our website at www.afsc.ca or contact your local branch. Also, be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for additional updates, announcements, and our connection to the community. Thanks very much for watching.